Training is being live streamed. Got it. Do you see that?
Yep. Okay. Beautiful. All right. Hold on. Let me just make sure this is on record. Okay. Great. Welcome everyone to our Monday night Q&A. We are just waiting 1 second for my sister to join us. She's just getting herself situated. But again, welcome. I just want to make sure, just give me 1 second to make sure everything is cool in here. All right. Make sure, sees that. Just give me 1 second. All right. So, if you are here and you are a student that has asked a question, just confirm with us in the chat box because we will then start answering questions. Let me see. So we had one of our students, Jashard, that asked a question. We have Antonio that asked a question. Excuse me, guys, it's allergy season. So sorry if I sneezed a few times. But I just want to make sure that you guys are here. So if you guys can just talk to me in the chat box and I can see that you guys are here. But until that, we will then just get started. All right. So, all right. I want to start. Tina, can you see the chat box on our YouTube? Just want to make sure because for some reason I don't see anyone, but maybe that's because no one's here yet.
Let's see.
Okay. I can see it, but no one has come to back, so I don't want to start without them here.
I don't see anybody, but that's okay. We can get into
Okay.
first of all, what are the questions? Because I know we have I want to talk about something.
So Antonio wants to know, he just wants to talk through one of his rooms in one of the houses that he's looking at and see where he can price it to make sure that he is accurate in that pricing. So he just wanted to make, because he said the layout is weird, so we just want us to go over that room, see what he can charge for it, kind of talk about it. And then Jushard wants to know kind of about he wants to talk about titles and what to include in some of his descriptions. I know that we're going to talk a lot about that on the challenge tomorrow, so we were just going to discuss with him a little bit, but those are only 2 questions.
Yeah, so we can get into both of those and some other details. Last week, I know we talked about, you and Chris talked about formula and location. And one of the things that I think is, well, that I know based on most of the questions that we get is about location, is about what do I do? Like, I want to start an Airbnb, or I'm interested in Airbnb, but how do I get one and what am I looking for? Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I know you talked about it briefly with Chris, but I think it's pretty important and something that we should go more into depth about, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about Airbnb, and it's something that we give a lot of instruction to our students about when they first join. So as far as location, really, like the first thing, I know you guys talked about, so what if you're in an area that isn't around anything? We have a student that is in Indiana, but we also have our own places, right? And one of the misconceptions that we see a lot is, it has to be this big, beautiful, property that's in a gated community and has, a master bathroom and,
Mhm.
white picket fence and white walls and pictures and a back and all these things. And basically, kind of what Antonio is talking about in his question, it's kind of a weird layout, because it's not the perfect ideal place that everybody normally envisions when they think about hosting people, right? And so I guess, like, let's get into, like, what are the myths of Airbnb and a successful location to have an Airbnb.
Right. So, I mean, like kind of just like what you were about to get into more in depth is like for a house, a lot of people think that the house that they get for the property they get for an Airbnb has to be something that they want to live in. Like that it's a place that, like, if I can't see myself raising a family in here, if I can't see myself living here, I wouldn't want to host people here, which is a really really big limiting mindset. And Jim always says, like, if he thought like that, he'd be millions of dollars poor. So a lot of something that we tell our students, right, is that just because it's not somewhere that you would stay like for yourself or somewhere that you would live, it doesn't make it a bad location. And different people have different standards. As long as your home follows our formula, which formula drives everything, it's in a safe neighborhood, everything is fair game. So that's a really really big myth, that the house has to be, like you said, white picket fence, totally perfect, somewhere that you would stay and live for you to be able to host that, which isn't true. Because again, a lot of people are just looking for a place to stay on business, as long as it has like a kitchen, it's clean, it's got a bathroom, and it's somewhere they can lay their head. A lot of them are grateful, and your home could be like steps away from the location that they work at, or steps away from something that they're really excited about and need. So that's a big misconception. And then the other misconception is location, right? Kind of how how you're about to get into. A lot of people think, well, I kind of live in the middle of nowhere, or I live in a city that I feel like not a lot of people visit, so I don't think I want to host an Airbnb here. We have so many people that come to us and just start with that question. Like, I actually have a property, in the middle of, I don't know, where's a good place? I think there was a lot of students in like the outskirts of Dallas, Texas, that came to us with the same thing, with the statement, right? Like, I live in the middle of nowhere, or I feel like a lot of people don't visit where I'm from. Like, we're like 45 minutes from an airport. Like, why would people want to be here? I don't think I want to host here. It's my hometown, even though I know it really well, I just feel like I should look in a different state. That is such a huge myth. Or, right, they just say like, I looked on Airbnb, there are like one or two Airbnbs near me. I don't feel like the Airbnb I start would be successful if I started here. Another big myth, like huge myths. And it's just been factually proven by a lot of our students when they get Airbnbs and these locations where it might be in the middle of nowhere or it might not be near any attractions. So quote unquote in the middle of nowhere is not really in the middle of nowhere, just maybe not near a hospital or maybe not near like an amusement park or an airport or anything that you would feel like would bring in people. But like their places are 100% occupied. Like how I was talking about Dina last week, her places are near a power plant in Indiana and there's nothing else around, and her places are doing a fantastic job, you know, in the Airbnb market. As well as I think we have so many student stories with the same you know situations where they feel like their Airbnb won't be successful because they feel like people don't come to that area, and they're so wrong. All they have to do is start, and then they start seeing the reservations pour in, because in reality, right, there's no other quote unquote competition around you. So you could be sitting in a gold mine. And a lot of times, like you might just be sitting too close to your city, like you might just be looking too close at it. Like you're like, I've lived here my whole life, like why would anybody want to come here, right? When in reality, again, you're sitting on a gold mine. So location is such a huge myth when it comes to Airbnb. You don't need to be in a 5-star location where a bunch of tourists come in, because people work everywhere, right? And business travelers are the people we pinpoint to, and there's always people coming in for work, no matter where you are. So
Get into like a list, like specifically. So like number one on the list is location where you have to be directly next to or in walking distance of an attraction, some kind of an attraction, a theme park, a mall, a shopping center,
yeah.
you know, a hospital, even
Mm-hmm.
a university,
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of things. Number two on the list is it has to be perfect, right? It has to be a big house with, you know, a living room, kitchen, backyard, fenced in, painted to, you know, the stars, and somewhere where we see ourselves being comfortable, I guess.
Yeah.
That would be number two for me. And from everything that you just said. Number three is um so location, attractions, has to be a perfect space. And I guess you could say like you yourself would, would I'm sorry, would want to be here, would find yourself kind of
Yeah, because like when you like, so for instance, like for example, like kind of it ties into Antonio's question. So let's just get into that like really quick. So you're asking for like a pricing model on like a room in your home that is a little weird. So a lot of people like Tina, I can't remember who it was, but we had like 2 or 3 students that had like this tiny little room and like the corner of their house, and they were like, well, I'm not going to be able to put like a queen bed in there, and there might not be much I can put in there, and so I'm just not going to list it because it's such a tiny room. And we're like, what? Like if you keep that room out of your formula, like even if you have to charge $10 less or $5 less for that room because it's small, and maybe you only have a twin bed in there and maybe a small little TV, and you know, a little dresser, like if that's all you have in there, maybe you'll have to charge a little bit less for it because it's a twin bed. But people want to stay in rooms like that because they just want a place to sleep, and as long as it's clean, they can lay their head down at night, and they have a bathroom and whatever, like they're cool with it. So yeah, so it might not be a place or a room you would want to stay in, but other people want to stay there, you know.
into like, now we just talked about the myths. What are the facts about Airbnb and the location? Like what can we say definitely works that most people think or don't think about? So As far as location goes, we just talked about it has to be, walking distance to all these kinds of things that bring people to the area.
Yeah.
The fact is, that if you have a comfortable, safe space, people will come.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to be near a hospital or any of those other attractions. If you have a safe space, a comfortable space with, a clean bed, maybe a TV, doesn't have to be a TV, a coffee machine, toaster, a microwave, and it looks nice, people will come.
Yeah.
We have places in upstate New York that aren't, there's no like theme parks, there's no water parks, there's no like stadiums or anything nearby. It's not a place where there's professional, events going on. But what percentage of occupancy are we at in most of the places in upstate New York?
We're like at, if not 100, like 90, like 85 or 90% of the time. So, and I think, and I think the only thing we have in upstate New York and the city that we're in is we have some of the best hospitals. But that's literally, that's literally it. We don't have anything else.
It's true, but we're not directly next to any of the colleges, right? How close is how close is one of our closest Airbnbs to a university?
I think like 5 or 10 minutes is our closest. So we're not within steps. We're within definitely a short car drive. But even our furthest Airbnb from a university, I think is, I want to say 20 minutes. And that one is
You still
Yeah.
get students, professors,
Yeah.
people interns who are coming to the university, people who are just visiting who want to stay there.
Yeah.
And why?
We were the first. I think Dad was one of the first Airbnb hosts in our area. Like he had the most until he started Jim G Coaching Club and teaching people how to do it. I think we were like the first people in that area to start Airbnbs, and like I grew up, I grew up in Rochester. So when you think about Rochester, New York, you're like, if it was me, I'd have been like, I don't think we should do it. But like Dad did it, and now we're some of the best hosts in Rochester. So we're full, if not 100% of the time. I'd say the least are I'd say 85 as our lowest occupancy.
So even when we talk about what we do with people who know us, and even students who are from Rochester, their first question is, people come to Rochester?
Yeah. Yeah.
Visit Rochester? Are they like they go on vacations in Rochester?
Yeah.
Like, no, like yes and no. Vacation, like people visit the area, but one of the things that makes us so successful is how we run our Airbnbs. And the way that we do it is based on what works, on what historically we have found to work. And that's what catering to professional out of town guests, business travelers, not the normal, normal vacationers, vacation travelers. That's where a lot of people, that's another myth, right? People who, if you want to have an Airbnb, it has to be for vacation travelers. It has to be because people are coming to vacation because they want to have a good time, right?
Honestly, the vacation traveler industry is like the worst industry ever. Oh my gosh.
Based on experience, this isn't just something I'm making up. Like we've gone through a lot of trial and error. And what we have found to be successful and to stay away from is people who are coming without a purpose or with no other purpose than to have a good time.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's great. We want people to have a great time and to enjoy the area. And we do get vacationers
Yeah.
who come for, different events and things like that. But
Right.
purpose
Right.
for being there, not just,
Right.
I'm
There's
on vacation. I
I don't
I'm
care about your rules and regulations and yeah. So yeah, we did the whole we did the Disney World thing for a while, and that was good, but I can definitely tell you that the business traveler side of Airbnb is well worth your money and your time versus the luxury vacation travel side of things. So, and we can get into that another day, but for sure, there are myths and then there are facts. So what was the next? So did we cover all the myths and facts? Did we
um,
get all of them?
so one of the other facts to kind of go against the myth side of it is um regardless of like where you are, formula drives everything. So like it's not about like going back to location, it's not about where you are, it's about formula. And that goes for anywhere, any state, any city that you're in. Like some people you talked about in the beginning, some people are like, well, I live in Rochester, and I'm gonna start going to get my first Airbnb in someplace like Florida or California because a lot of people,
Yeah,
travel there.
yeah,
Um, and that's a big misconception.
very-
Um, the fact that goes along with it is it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in Rochester, Florida, California, if you don't have a formula, if you don't follow the formula, it's gonna fail.
oh yeah, big
It
time.
doesn't matter what's around, it doesn't matter who's coming. If you're following what most people are doing, your Airbnb, it may do well, but you probably are not going to make any money.
Yeah, and like you might make some money, but it won't be, first of all, worth your time. Like if you are so, because it's not about, right, and a lot of people, and this is the next thing we're going to get into, but emotion attached to your business is good, but it can be a major issue, especially if you don't really know what you're doing and you're just going there based off emotion. Like for instance, if you don't have a formula and you get an Airbnb and it looks great and you decorate it and you spend $4,000 on Ashley Home Store furniture to get matching bed frames and matching dressers on top of matching nightstands and a matching rug, you're like, well, I put all this work into it, so I'm gonna charge my guests $100 a night for this one room, and then no one books it because that doesn't make sense. It's not about it's not really about what it can be, right? But it's not ultimately what you put into it. It's what the market is telling you that you can book your rooms for. And you want to be smart, you want to be efficient, and you want to be frugal, right? With how you're spending money at first, especially setting up and stuff, because you don't want too much emotion to go into it. And now you're breaking even at the end of the year, or you're breaking even at the end of the month every month because you spent way too much money setting up, you spent way too much money doing this, and then you want to charge $100 a night for something that you don't even know what you should be charging. So a lot of people do Airbnb based off emotion, and you definitely want to take a lot of your emotion out of it, and you want to go based on facts and formula. So that's why we say formula drives everything. You want to know exactly what you should be paying in rent before you sign a lease to a property, and you want to know exactly what you need to be charging per room or per listing before you list it. So those are super, super important. And if you do not do that, you're going to find yourself in a really bad situation. Maybe breaking even if you're lucky. A lot of times people break even, so a lot of times people lose a lot of money because they just don't know what they're doing going in. So yeah, I want
Kind of like you want to, and maybe I just missed it, or I don't know. But you want to know, like, even before you sign a lease, right? You need to know what you will be making profit for your Airbnb. or for that property, right? Whether you're doing an entire house or private rooms, you need to know what you'll be making after you pay rent, for that listing. And and this goes back to kind of what you guys talked about last Monday. If you're not making 2 to 3 times what you're paying in rent, it's out of formula and it doesn't make sense. And that's not a property that you should even be considering for Airbnb, because like you said, like it looks nice, and it's in a great location. It's in a city where a lot of people come to, and all this and that and the third. If you're not going to be making at least 2 to 3 times what you're paying in rent, you are not making a profit. You're losing money.
Awesome.
So yeah.
And that's huge. And before I knew much about Airbnb, I was in the same boat, kind of like having ideas about what I could charge people for, not really knowing, and kind of just having different fantasies and ideas about what I could do with this place and who I could attract. What'd you say?
Based on what you thought or what you wanted to be able to make, not actually will be making based on your research.
Right. And you don't want to, and business, right? Business is about sometimes taking risks, but there's no need for that in this business with all of the resources that can be given to you, especially with us, with Jim. Like there's just no reason to guess. So yeah, I mean, Airbnb, like how Jim always says, anybody could get an Airbnb, but not everybody can make money off of it. And that's a fact. That's just a fact. And a lot of people, just like Jim, like went through do trial and error and figure it out as they go. But that's why Jim created, his academy, and created the challenges, because he already did all that trial and error. He already did all that. He lost a bunch of money. He was blessed because he started off with properties that he owned and then turned them into Airbnbs. And then some he started off with, doing rental arbitrage, and then some he owned. So he learned on both sides, like what can be done and what to do and what not to do. So there's just no reason for the trial and error on your part, because Jim already did all that, and that's what he teaches students. So yeah, no need for any of that. We already made all the mistakes for you guys.
Some of the things that we do provide in the academy, just to kind of take the work and the trial and error out of you having to do it yourself, is we provide the formula. We teach everybody the formula that's worked for us, right? And the formula that you will duplicate over and over again, copy and paste, for every location. Everybody gets the same formula in our academy. And we, if there's a question or if something's not understood, we go over it, and we're there to kind of tell you, yes, go for it, or no, stay away from it. The other thing that Jim provides is kind of, so after you find a place like this looks great, I went through formula, it makes sense. Now, what do I say, right? That's the second problem that people have. What do I say? We provide a template of what to say to these landlords and homeowners and people who we're reaching out to. And that's one of the great things about the academy, but that's also one of the things that we provide on our challenges. When Jim does his challenges, a challenge will be coming up this week, actually. And Jim provides a template of what to say to landlords, so that you don't have to wonder about that anymore. All that's stopping you from getting started is you. So if Airbnb is something that you're interested in, and you've never done anything with Airbnb before, I would encourage you to join Jim's challenge, because you will get all the resources that you need to kind of get started. And then after that, the only thing that's stopping you is you. So I just wanted to say that, but I'm going back to some of the questions. In the chat, I see Alice, I see Jashard, I see Antonio. Hey, everybody. We're glad you're here. And we can kind of get into the what Antonio was talking about more as far as the house not being perfectly set up. And this goes back to formula. Like, one thing about formula is that it doesn't really change. Like, it's kind of cut and dry, right? A private room is a private room, a suite is a suite. If there's a certain price that you can set for a private room, and a certain price you can set for a suite. And if it's not a suite and it's just a big room with with no other kind of like amenities, then it's not something that really will change the formula. So as far as Antonio is saying that he has a room in a house that's connected to another room, and it's big, and
Oh,
kind of in between. It's in between a room, or it's, I don't know, it's somewhere throughout. Like you have to go through a room to get to the other room. But from my understanding, it doesn't have like a bathroom. It doesn't have like, a shower or anything like that, or like a kitchenette area.
so to enter the room, you have to go through another room. Is that's what you said? He said.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it looks like.
Okay. So Antonio, let us know if we're correct in the chat. But if that's the case, then unfortunately unless there's a door, a separate door that a guest can enter privately through to enter that room, you won't be able to include that in your formula. But with that being said, you could turn that one room into like a bigger, like a suite. I would say like a semi suite, because it's kind of two rooms attached in one. Like you can make the second bedroom inside of that room like an office space. Like you could put some couches in there, like a little like private living space for that room. And like you can get some inexpensive couches and an inexpensive TV. You could put a desk in there, like it's like a second closed room, or you could put another bed in there, and then just advertise that room as like with two beds, or put a separate office space in there, whatever you want to do, and then you can charge extra for that room. So the two, I would say the two beds are always, putting another bed in there is always a great idea, because more space for other guests. But you can definitely turn that room into something different, and charge extra for that room. So you'll be able to charge maybe a suite price, rather than a regular room, maybe a little bit less than the suite price, because it doesn't have a bathroom. But if it has two beds in there, or it has a lot more stuff than a regular room is, you're definitely going to be able to charge more. You're probably going to have to take that out of your formula as probably of a two room situation. So would you see the same, Taina?
Yeah, like I wouldn't charge as much as a suite, but sometimes we advertise, like not advertise, but we tell people, if you are bringing an extra guest, we may be able to provide an air mattress kind of situation, where we're charging how much, like $10 for an air mattress, kind of like just a separate an additional space to sleep on. You could charge a couple dollars more than you would be charging for a private room in your area, but not as much as you would charge for a suite.
Yeah. Well, would you put oh, well, you mean like put like for like a third person? Because I was thinking like putting an actual extra bed in there.
Okay, so yes, but I'm saying like an extra bed. I'm not saying like a blow up mattress. You could make it you could make it an office and have like an air mattress in there, or if, you know, it also is like up to you and what your kind of budget is
Yeah.
per, right? If you're
Right.
able to get a bed in there, then yeah, by all means, put a bed in there.
Yeah.
And that's great, but it's still, at the end of the day, it is still a private room. It's not like, you know, there's no extra amenities or anything in there. Like, people also have to leave the room in order to get freshened up and use the bathroom and things like
Yeah.
that. Will still be passing through common areas. So I wouldn't consider it a suite, but it
Yeah.
is a
Right.
room.
Right.
So um
Right. So
so
yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of different options, Antonio, and we can discuss further on a call. So if you because I definitely want to talk more in depth into this without giving away too much here. So we will discuss further on a call. I will reach out to you, or one of us will reach out to you directly. But I personally would try, and kind of what Tino was saying, I would personally just try, I'd put another bed in there. I would and like how Tiny said, you're not going to be able to charge a suite price, but you could probably charge $5 or $10 more like for an extra bed, since it's going to be like two beds in a private room type of thing because of the layout. And like you could, like I said, turn it into an office, and you could probably boost that price up $5 or $10 more than what you would. So I'll probably go that route. And then we can always discuss. Chris is like the renovation master, so he can. No, seriously, like, dude, you guys should see Tina and Chris's house. Like, I went in there and I didn't even want to touch anything because I was like, why does this look like HGTV came in here and threw up? Like, but anyway, like, it's crazy. He's the renovation master, so he's really good with rooms and spaces. We're definitely gonna discuss more on that, and he can give you some ideas as well privately. And then he also left a note here for us. So yeah, so Tyne, did you want to go into a little bit what more of the note Chris just left?
so the area and location, going back to area and location, as far as like what you'll be able to make a night, I guess I'm trying to kind of filter through, because there's a lot of things that could be said.
Yeah, so what I take from the note kind of is just like, it uses or and it has bathroom one. Okay, and his has a bathroom in one of them. I use it as a 2-bedroom listing in here. Okay, so it's got a half bath in it, is what I'm seeing, is what you're saying, Antonio. That one has a half bath in it because is it two? Is it what? It's a 1.5 bath, I believe, right? So if it's got a half bathroom in there, then you would definitely be able to do something with that. But the note that Chris kind of left us that I think I'm getting so profitability is also driven by formula. So if you turn that into like a suite space without it being like a full suite, you'll be able to charge based on what that area is given to you. So for a place like in Rochester, or like a place in like upstate New York, like a small city, you'll probably only be able to charge like $5 extra for something like that, depending on what formula says. But in Florida, or like a bigger city with more people coming into it, you might be able to charge $10 or $15 more for a space like that. So it just really depends on the formula. So the staging and stuff like that, Chris is going to discuss with you, but that all can be adjusted by the area. So if there's, I think with the place that you can't remember, what was it, the place that you have the 5-bed and 1.5 baths, is by beach, I believe. So because of that location, you'll be able to, we can discuss more staging and what we think people would want going more into that area. So there might be more people like that want, an extra bed in that area because they can bring more people with them, or they might want an office because maybe there's a lot of businesses by there. Like, it really just depends. So we can talk more about it. And Chris will get a lot more into it, and we'll get a lot more into it on the private call. But if it has a half bathroom, then in that one room, then that's good. And I would probably go more towards like a 2-bedroom listing in that one room. And maybe a small office space. So we can discuss more. I don't know, Tina, if you had a different idea or.
No, I think all that was good. I think even Chris's input was great too. And going back to like the area, it wouldn't, so the thing that does kind of help the formula is like you were saying, like location, like if you're nearby something, whether that's an attraction, a beach, a specific area, there are things you can do to increase the attraction to the room, like make your pictures look better, and have it kind of front and center. Like we're in Florida, you're in Florida. If you're nearby a beach or a theme park or any of those things, you can add beach pictures and kind of like seashells and lamps with the color.
Yeah.
That kind of give people an emotional attachment. The good thing about location is, like, not everybody has a place in Florida, and if they're coming to Florida, regardless of if it's business or pleasure, like people want to feel like they're in Florida. They're coming for business, but it's nice to feel like I'm on a vacation, so you can do things like have a simple theme, like where I'm not trying to tell you to go and get a mural painted on your wall of like the ocean, but you can have like knickknacks and things that remind people of where they are.
And you can find those in like the stores that we suggest as far as frugal shopping for setup. So you know what those are. A lot of those stores have a lot of like beach themed stuff and like nice cheap things or inexpensive things that you'll be able to kind of play on that staging process for them.
Yes. Oh, and another myth. We already talked about this you kind of went through this, Rosa. But the things that you put in your Airbnb, like, they do not have to be like Ashley home furniture or Raymore and Flanagan, like all these top tier furniture, warehouse places. Like a lot of things, like,
wait, don't give away too much.
I'm saying, like, a lot of things, like, there are things that can be repurposed. Like,
it
also goes back into kind of the things that we provide, the resources that we provide in the academy. One of the things that we do provide is a shopping list of things that are a necessity for you to be able to host and run your business. That people expect to find in your Airbnb, so that you're not going out and thinking, I have to buy a 5-piece furniture set for this bedroom. I have to get matching towels. I have to get, the whole like entertainment center kind of thing. Like
I think that's where a lot of people fail in their business too. I think we touched on it earlier, but like, you can fail your business before you even start it. Like, it's so true. Like, so many people, like even some places that we've taken over from people or we've like started to set up for people, like I can't remember who it was. I think it was, I don't want to, I'm not gonna name names, but they're like, I brought $1,000 curtains. And we were like, for what? Like, what are you doing? Like, so I remember that story, but yeah, but continue, like, because that's such a big thing. Like, you do not need to spend thousands of dollars on one, like, you shouldn't be spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on furnishing your place, period.
Goes back to like the emotional attachment to a property, right? Like when we're buying a place, when you're buying a place that you're going to live in, you have to have an emotional, connection to it.
Yeah.
You have to see yourself being here and being comfortable and see, oh, what can I do with this room? What can I see being in here? Like this is gonna be the kitchen. This is how I want it to be set up. This is the living room, bedroom, and this is what I want it to look like. Versus like the fact is all you have to do is make it functional for your business. It doesn't have to be like all perfect and matching and the highest quality things. Like it has to be business functional. Will people get into this place and be comfortable, be able to sleep, be able to shower, be able to eat, and they'll feel safe, versus, this is where I want to be. This is where I see my kids growing up. This is where, I want to spend all of my time. It's not meant for you. It's meant for our audience. It's meant for who we're serving. So
Yeah. So that's true, and it's super important to note. But we have to jump on to the next question. Antonio, if you want more, then let us know. Again, we can jump on a call with you separately, which we're probably going to do anyway, but we can definitely discuss further if you felt like that didn't really help and you want more in depth. So we will jump to Jashard. So Jashard, your question, you wanted to talk about your listing and its titles and how to attract a midterm renter. So what I will tell you is that I would save your questions as far as that's concerned for the challenge tomorrow with Jim, because he's really he wants to answer those types of questions for you, and you guys can get more in depth one-on-one. So I will also be there as well, and I'll be chiming in tomorrow on the challenge. But I would save those questions for tomorrow on the challenge. But what I can say is that I went through your listings, the ones that you sent me in my private inbox. I gave you a bunch of I gave you a bunch of suggestions in your inbox about what you need to do as far as your listing descriptions, your neighborhood descriptions, what you need to put in there. I went through your listings and you are missing a lot of detail. It doesn't seem like it seemed like you input a little bit, but I went through like I think all three of your listings that you sent me. There might be four. I went through all three of the listings that you sent me in Brooklyn, and you're missing way too much detail. Like you have to add like your listing descriptions. We would suggest going back to your optimization module that we sent you in the beginning and look at the examples at the very bottom of the optimization module. There's examples from about 5 of our actual students, and your listing description should look like that, but for New York. So you're missing details about the property. You've got a great like start to it, where you kind of talk about the layout and like what people can expect, but you need to add more detail, like what can they expect walking into their room, what do you provide in their room, and I'm not going to get too much of it because I wrote you a really long paragraph in your inbox a couple weeks ago, so go back through that and implement all of that. But you're missing way too much detail. Your neighborhood description and ways to get around should be jam-packed of information, because you know the property better, or you know the location better than anyone else, and especially in New York, like there's so much around. Talk about things that are within walking distance, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to talk way more to your audience, and why people will want to stay at that place. So you need to add all of that in your descriptions. You just don't have it. And I went through them, so I know that you are missing all of that stuff. So go add that. I know you said that you've been working on them, and that's great, but you're still missing some stuff. So go back to my my long paragraph that I wrote you and implement that. And then as well as your titles, I know that you said that you wanted to talk about titles. What I can tell you is that I also did talk about what you should be aiming toward for titles a couple weeks ago in that long paragraph that I sent you. But right now your titles just say room in Brooklyn, New York, and that's just not enough. So you need to be more descriptive. Talk about maybe if you're like 5 minutes away from a hospital or a train ride away from a hospital, whatever. But that's the stuff that you need to implement. Now, tomorrow in the challenge, Jim is gonna you upgraded to VIP, which is great, so that you can ask questions. So tomorrow on the challenge, make sure that we're gonna go through it all tomorrow. I'm gonna walk you through how to ask questions. 5:30 tomorrow, the challenge is starting. So make sure you have your questions ready for Jim so that we can go through them. He can go through them in depth and in detail so that you can get immediate results. Because it looks like your listings need a lot need a lot of help, right? Because you said that you're in New York, the regulations have been changing. You're trying to aim towards long-term guests. So there's a lot of stuff that we want to start implementing for you. And that challenge tomorrow is going to get you immediate results. So I would start to work on your listings tonight. I would try and make sure that you implement everything that I've already told you before tomorrow's challenge so that Jim kind of isn't telling you the same stuff. And you can start getting results a lot faster. So I would start doing that tonight. Do all that implementation, and then tomorrow come with your questions for Jim. But I think a lot of the questions that you are asking as far as your titles and descriptions, I answered them for you. You just have to implement. So I know that you also had a question about adding a portable washer and dryer in your place. I would hold off.
He said he's not, based on everything that we just talked about, he will not be adding a washer and dryer.
Okay. Okay. Okay, great.
Sorry, I see you. So, so I'm glad that we were able to touch on that and kind of give you a straight answer, quick answer on that, because that's something that, is really important for you to know. Amenities, like you said, amenities, what most people think they need to have, because they want to have them, aren't always necessary. Especially big amenities like a washer and dryer. I can.
It could be something that you could implement maybe after, yeah.
For sure, it could, but like, it's not. I can tell you, a washer and dryer isn't on our shopping list of things that are necessary for your business to function.
No, and it's hard because right now at this point, like, you're kind of I don't want to use the word desperate, but right, you want your bookings, but it's kind of hard because you don't exactly know like what needs to be added, because I think you're missing so much detail in your listing description that, like, once you get your listings like organized and settled, you're going to start being able to be like, okay, well, maybe I can add something here because this isn't working. But right now, your optimization is just a little messed up. So once you get that set in stone, then we could talk about adding stuff. But you definitely want to get the basics straight first.
And you know what? You're getting a double dose of all of this good stuff because you joined the challenge, but not only did you join the challenge, but you're an academy student. You're in the academy. So we are able, like, one of the things that makes the academy so special is you get to interact with me, with Rosa, with Chris, with Jim, on a regular basis. Whereas if you're just joining the challenge, that's the only time that you have to really interact, and not even joining the challenge. If you are a VIP, if you bought VIP for the challenge, that's the only time that you really will get to interact with Jim, and the rest of us is on the challenge. So, like, I can tell you that the last challenge we had, and even the challenge before, Jim gave some suggestions for people who had listings, who kind of things slowed down a bit for them. And after, like, for example, one of the students who was in on that challenge has been a student for a year or more. They've had things up, for a year at least.
I think it was like, no, I think they were like 2 years in. I think they were
on a time. It wasn't like fresh, just started. They've had listings up for a good amount of time. And the funny thing is they've been fully booked for so long that we haven't really gotten to be in touch with them because really the only thing that they checked in was for updates and things as far as like what was going on in the academy that was new, but they didn't really need any more like suggestions or things because like if it's broke, don't fix it, right? So if they're fully booked most of the time, they didn't really have anything to kind of get in on our live Q&As and things like that, but they did join the challenge because things had slowed down. And I can tell you, as soon as they implemented the suggestions that Jim gave on the challenge, things picked back up immediately. They were getting inquiries and had reservations, a handful of them. I can't tell you the exact amount, but the next day in the challenge, they were like, Jim, we've had this amount of inquiries come in after changing our titles and descriptions and adding details and things like that. Like when I tell you immediately after, like the day after, it was like automatic.
At that point, they were like, we're gonna have to pay like $6,000 out of our pocket this month because our listings and our bookings have been so down because we've been away for 6 months from you guys, and then they didn't have to pay it out of their pocket because their listings picked up within a 10-day period, and they got like, I think it was like a $6,000 booking. I want to say it was like a $6,000 booking within 48 hours. So definitely important. So the challenge is going to be super important, and the title of our challenge, right, is Family Financial Freedom Challenge. And I just wanted to touch on like, and if you're a student, you kind of know the next steps as far as like after you get your Airbnbs in stone, systems then are now important. So because and that's a big part of financial freedom, right? A part of it is making money passively. So in order to do that, where you're hands off, systems are super important. And when we say systems, we mean getting cleaners, we mean getting someone to handle emergencies for you, hands-off things, so you can go and you can leave and you can go on vacation and you don't have to worry about, having to come back on a whim or having to deal with something in the middle of the night, or, if something pops up, or having to come back and clean because a guest checks out tomorrow. Like, systems in place are super important. And that's another thing we're going to touch on in the challenge, because a lot of you guys, I think, are in too deep in your Airbnbs where you just don't want to let go. But the goal here is financial freedom. And in order to make money passively, systems in place are super important. And we spent a lot of time kind of building systems for ourselves and then writing the process down so that we can teach you guys how to have those systems, create those systems, and manage those systems. So that's another thing we're going to talk about on the challenge tomorrow. But systems in place is super important in order to run your business, right? Nobody runs a business by themselves. You have to get people involved in order to get your hands off and for you to be able to do the things with your family or your friends, so that you can start making money literally in your sleep. So
not only that, also like to be able to see like with a clear vision, things that need to change, things that need to improve, things like that. You can't make those changes. You can't see all those things if you're hands on everything. If you're the one that has to do it, right? There was a student last week who I think we were on the challenge, and she was like, actually, I'm on my way to my Airbnb right now. I've got a bunch of stuff in my back seat. to put in my place. And we're like, what do you mean? Like, you've been doing this for a while. Like, it's about time that you got somebody, in place to kind of do that for you, so you're not the one running around. And she's like, well, I like running around. I like doing this. Like, this is something that I enjoy. And that's great. That's awesome. That's something that we want you to enjoy. Like, you should enjoy building your business. But if you're the one that has to do everything, that has to, clean your place, that has to furnish it, that has to make sure everything is spick and span and just the way that it should be, you will never be able to grow.
Yeah, and that'll cause burnout too.
Yeah, and that's the goal, right? We don't want you to kind of be sick and tired of and dreading, like, I have to go and do this, and I don't have time to do this because I have to go over to my place and deal with this issue and that issue and make sure that it's clean for the next person. Like, no, we want you to be able to have those systems in place, like a management person, or I'm not going to get into all of the systems, but having those things in place to where you're not the one that has to do it, so that if something is wrong, you can clearly see it and make that change, so that you are able to grow and get the next place, copy and paste exactly what you did for the next one, so that, like, you're continuously being successful. If you have to, like, another big part of being financially free is not staying where you're at, not staying, what's the word?
Stagnant.
Stagnant, yes. Not staying stagnant. If you only have one Airbnb, like, that's not, like, that's great, you're gonna have cash flow, but that's not what's gonna make you financially free. The goal is to get the first one and be able to duplicate what you did for the first one, because you're having success for the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. And so those systems in place, like, after that, after you do everything that needs to be done to list your place, right? You get those systems in place. All you have to do is literally copy and paste exactly what you did to have success in the next one. And that's the way that you will easily grow and gain all that financial independence, because now you don't even have to think about what's happening. It's the same way every single time, because it's already proven to be successful.
Yeah. So that's super important. So if that's something that you're interested in, as far as, like, because it's big, like, and even for those of you that have an Airbnb and that are students, if that's something that you're interested in, join the challenge so that we can talk to you about it, and we can get you inside of our inner circle so that you can have a layout of exactly what you need to get those systems in place so that you are hands off. So if you're interested in that, let us know, join our challenge. If you are not a student of ours and maybe you have an Airbnb and you want those systems because maybe you have systems, but your systems are failing, or maybe you don't have systems and you're thinking about giving away your Airbnb or getting rid of it because it's just too much for you, join our challenge. Contact us so that we can get you inside of an inner circle, so we can teach you how to get those systems in place. A lot of people feel like they need to hire property managers, like, that completely come in and just take over your stuff, and you have no control over it, and like and pay them large amounts of money. So you don't have to do that. You don't have to lose money with your Airbnb. You don't have to give away your places. If you want those systems, let us know, come to our challenge, so that we can get you inside of our inner circle and get you hands off and stress free. So we will drop the payment link, or we will drop the link to join our challenge inside of this chat, and we will also drop it in our comment sections. I believe Tina will do that. And so that's what we'd have to say about that. Systems are definitely important. So that was our last question of the night. I know that there are some questions in our chat box, but if you are a student, go to the platform. We are changing our layout of this. If you do not ask your questions before our session starts, we will not get to your question, period. It's just so that we can stay organized and have a better idea of what we'll be talking about for the night, so our minds aren't jumbled and we don't, start to lose track of what we're talking about. So if you have a question that you want answered, ask it in the platform so that we can answer it for you on the platform. But if you want it talked about live on our sessions on Monday nights, make sure that you're asking your question on the platform in my regular thread that I post every Monday morning. Make sure you ask your question at least 15 minutes before the session starts so that we can know exactly what we're talking about and who we're talking to. So if you ask a question in our chat box tonight, a couple minutes ago, we're not going to unfortunately get to those questions tonight. We can get to them inside of our platform and we can get to them on next Monday night. So that will be it. Again, if you're interested in joining the challenge, the link is on the platform for our students. I will repost it again tonight. Our challenge does start tomorrow at 5:30. Tomorrow will be the last day for you to be able to register until the next challenge, which will be in 3 weeks. And then just a quick reminder about Wednesday night Bible study. Jim goes live every Wednesday night for a Bible study, just for a midweek restart, some motivation. Those are really, really good sessions. And then his Millionaire Mindset live session on Thursday. If you want some, just some more time with Jim, some extra motivation. That is going to be a really, really good session for you. I don't believe he's going to be doing Thursday night this week, but because of the challenge, but next week, everything will restart. So Wednesday morning will happen. Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. the Bible study will start. And then next week, Thursday, the sessions will continue. So Tyna just dropped the challenge link in the chat box. She will also drop it in the comments here. Once this is not live anymore, you guys will be able to see the link in our comments. And I believe that's it. Tyna, did you want to add anything before we log it off?
Yeah, just a quick, just something I want to end with is if you are a student, one thing that's so important, and whether you're a student or not, somebody who's just tuning in, one of the biggest things that will get you success is implementation, taking action. You can sit here and listen to everything that we say. You can watch all of Jim's YouTube videos. If you're a student, you can read all of our posts and all of the updates and join the challenge and do all these things. But unless you're taking action and implementing the things that we're telling you, the suggestions that we give you, whether it's on the platform, whether it's the things that we just said and talked about, or the suggestions that Jim has given and will be giving on the challenge, you will always be stuck in the same place. Nothing will change. So I encourage you all to implement, to do something, to go out and make the changes. Yep. And take action. Like if you're not in the challenge, take action, get in on the challenge. If you want to see a change, take action, get in on the challenge. If you want different results, reach out to us, take action, ask a question, interact with us, because unless you do that, nothing is going to change and you'll be sitting here wondering, whether this is the right thing for you or what you could be doing next, or should you be doing this instead of that. Like, take action, implement. So again, if you haven't joined the challenge, get in on the challenge. I can tell you it will definitely change your mindset and your way of thinking. What you think is the truth, that is not the truth. My husband says this all the time, makes you delusional. Okay. So, do what is true, get in on the challenge and that mindset shift that you might need in order to do the thing on the next level, in order to have success, you'll be able to make it because your mind will be thinking in a different direction than it is thinking now. So just implement, take action, and we look forward to seeing you all excuse me, on the challenge. Don't wait.
And sorry, guys, I just want to correct myself really quick because I feel like our students know this, but I know that there are some people here watching that aren't part of our academy. So again, Jim is going to be live every Wednesday morning doing a Bible study. So 9 a.m. Eastern time is when he will be back on our YouTube channel doing the midweek reset Bible study. And then Thursday night, every Thursday except for challenge weeks, 6 p.m. Eastern time, doing a live session right here at this on the same link as our YouTube. So if you want, some more of Jim and some more gems and things like that, make sure you're here at those times. And just check out our Instagram and Facebook for more updates. We'll be posting reminders and to keep up with us. So that's all we have for tonight. And we hope to see you on the challenge, and we hope to see you here again tomorrow, or sorry, not tomorrow, Wednesday morning. All right, guys, have a great night, and thank you so much.
Bless you all. Good night.
Bye-bye.